I'm going to work today on this dark patch here because it's quite a major part of the picture. And I don't expect you to make all of that out of little marks. So it's the lesson, in fact, is a technique for doing mass foliage when you get something like this. Okay, so if you have new pastels like that, I've got duplicates. Sorry, you've got new pastels like that. Do take the paper off, because if you don't take the paper off, you can only use the point. And so much pastel work is used with the side of the pastel. Right, so there's a big dark patch here. This is why I like pastel. You make enormous progress in. Right, now then, that's quite dark, but there are darker areas within that. So I'm going over it. And I put it on quite lightly. I'm going over it in places where there are deeper darks with the blue. I'm going on top of the green. And they sort of mix and meld. So I'm trying to build up a feeling of the structure of the shape that is there. I think I've got that in not quite the right place. That's the one I was using. Comes over here too, doesn't it? Right. That is quite dark there, and quite dark there. So I've got two colors there. Well, that's a purple. So let's bung a bit of purple in. See, can you see what I'm doing? I'm just taking all the dark colors that I have and pushing them in to vary the effect of the dark, so that there's a feeling of movement, even though all I'm doing is putting on great lumps of the stuff. Now, is that green? Yes. Up here, we've got some brighter greens. Believe it or not, that is a green. I don't like that green. Try that one. That's a bit better. Right, so this is more the color. So I've got the mass of it in now. Might need to bring that down a bit further. That's 10 there. Right, so it comes down darker down here quite a bit too. Okay. So I'm just looking at the basic sort of shapes that that are there. It sort of comes down here at a slant, and there's a piece that goes up there. There's a piece that comes across here. Can you see that? Yeah, okay. Right, now then, I've got my basic colors pretty much where I want them now. Never seems to be enough space on the paper somehow. Right, so now I can work into that. So I can go over this dark bit with some lighter color. and even over the dark bit that I've done, the color that I've done, create shapes of leaves. I did. Yes, I can use a bit of, this is a lighter. I'm just making marks, you know, enjoying myself, faffing about with the thing, making little marks. So that I'm in fact breaking up. And it doesn't matter if some of them are long and some of them are short. Where you want to be specific because you actually got that little trail down there, which is rather sweet, which is nice. I can that's a blue. There are some blue ones up here. The light is catching them. And you can use the darker ones to make this edge more interesting. See, that's quite ugly. But if you look at the way the edge is and what it's doing, I'm not doing any of these just yet. I'll come to them in a minute. Well, I don't know about in a minute, but I'll come to them. Don't like that yellowy green very much. I haven't taken the yellowy green right out, but I have taken it out some. If, like me, you get bored very easily, you can always change the color you're working with, and that just makes life a bit more interesting. It does have a bit of a yellowy green up there too. Might just introduce a bit of that yellow up there because it is. And since I've got it down there to some extent, I want to put it somewhere else. We don't want it to take over the whole painting. This is the purple. I'm going to just make some marks in on top of this. Sometimes they look a bit cob. You get a bit of creep at times because you think, oh, that doesn't look nice. So you change it and you find you've grown the thing till it's 6 feet longer than it should be. But then again, nobody's going to look at this picture. They're only going to see this picture. So anything I want to do, I can do. You got the basic idea anyway of how to go about it. And because I put the first pastel on so lightly, there's a bit of air can get through the picture. I don't think any bird would want to fly through that tree. So I don't have to make too much air, but a little bit would certainly help. And little bits that catch the light help to give form to what it is you're trying to put in. I think that will do for now, more or less. So there's a bit around here that needs putting in. There's something down here. I think this is a leaf, a branch that's just fallen down. I don't think it's a weed. It helps to break up this color with the green, marries them together. So that's helpful. And if I just add a bit of dark, I don't want to go too dark because it is catching the light. But you need some dark in to at least give form to what you're trying to do. Something across here ties that together quite nicely. Right, now then, this trunk here is actually quite dark. Let's see what that is. That'll do. So I can just put it in there. I don't think that's quite the right color. I think I will use that. Because we've got quite a nice, interesting shape, that thing, which I have lost. That doesn't matter because I can put the background in, rediscover it if I want to. There is, of course, another one there, isn't there? Which is curving round nicely. Coming into this mass down here. This one's practically blue over here, isn't it? I think I better get something in underneath first. Then you can. This would be good practice for when you're doing watercolor, because this is very gestural. I mean, you're using your arm to create the various shapes that you want to put in your picture, and that can help you when you're watercoloring, because people tend to niggle at watercolors, and if you can use your arm or your wrist, you're going to get a freer sort of picture. It's dark. And again, if you want a dark, just put in at all the darks that you can find, and you'll get there eventually. How are we doing for time, Rachel? Good. I don't know if I have. Yes, which you can do. I've got it a bit too heavy up here. So I'm just trying to, of course, because I put the background in so light, it will in fact take getting reinforced in this way. Don't have to. I could leave it. That's fingers. Right. Well, this is actually quite dark. I want a dark brown. See, I've rubbed the table out. I can put it back on top of this. Right, now what have I got? They're weird things, these, aren't they? I've missed this metal bar out as well. I don't know what it was meant to be. I don't think it adds to the beauty of the occasion, so I'll leave it out. Unless I get desperate. But I'll have to put it in to create anything. Excuse me, I need to stand back. Right, beginning to come. Beginning to come. And again, don't be afraid to put in. Light catching green very often does turn into a blue. And it can just add a little bit of sparkle. Well, you don't just put it in one place. As many places as you can manage. More of these. Now, depending on your personality, you can be as accurate with these fronds, the length and direction as you want. I tend to be fairly cavalier about these things. If you're more pernickety than me, then be my guest. I just want to show that this is a different texture to that. That's all I feel I need to do. That other people will have different interpretations of this. Perhaps I should have taken more care with that one because it is rather splendid, isn't it? But it does go berserk underneath, so there's another branch there. It comes around here. So, is that background? It could be background, couldn't it? I always start off pastels by saying I won't go to the edge. You always end up by going to the edge. Right. It's not a good idea to do that over there. It doesn't really matter if at that distance what you're putting on doesn't show. It will create a variation, which your eye will see without you acknowledging it. You'll see the difference between a bit like that and a bit like that, although the color on there is practically the same tone. Right, I think that will do for the time being. That is it. So you put in as many, it's filled the picture, hasn't it? And it what, took half an hour? So again, that's another thing about pastels. It covers the ground fast if you want it to, or if you're prepared to work that way. None of what I've got there is finished. The copper bowl isn't how I would like it to be, but it's there initially. Next week, I'll do the floor and the chairs. And then the week after that, I'll start to put in the finishing touches that will make me more pleased with it. Okay. But that's how to tackle a big lump of foliage, especially if it's dense like that. If you've got clumps of trees, try to graduate them so that you're going from where the light catches to the dark. And the dark will be very much underneath, which helps to ground the picture. The darks at the bottom of those tree trunks really pull the thing down into the ground and give it solidity.